Hey everybody, it's Wendy. So we are having some technical difficulties. It looks like the ancestors are having a little bit of fun with us right now. So hang tight. Gina is in Ghana, and so of course, when you're on the motherland on the continent, the Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi acts a little crazy sometimes. So hang tight and we'll be right back. So you don't want to miss this show. This is going to be amazing. It's all about the ancestors and honoring the ancestors. And as you can see, we have Yuri with us from ADACI. So we'll get right back into it. Hang tight and we'll be right back.
I wanna know ya, Cameroon, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, gotta let me show ya, Nigeria, Bioko Island, Liberia.
Okay, so we're back. Like I said, Gina is in Ghana and the IT guy is in her room. So he's doing the best he can. So just hang with me. But let's talk about what we got going on. We have so much going on here at African Ancestry. So this month, August, is all about the ancestors and it's all about supporting Black business. So first of all, everybody, let's just take a breath. Put in the chat where you are from. Good evening, everybody. I see Cheryl. Cheryl's in the house. Norma's in the house. Daniel's in the house. Yosef is in the house. Glenda is in the house. And Darnell, you are right on time. You are right on time. So what I want to do is do our winner. So our winner tonight will get the Remember Who You Are study guide. So the first person who has not won before, it looks like might be Cheryl W. So Cheryl W., you are the winner of the Remember Who You Are study guide because I know all these names before. I know all these people have won before. So if you will email us at info@africanancestry.com, then you can claim your prize. So you will get the Remember Who You Are study guide. Moving on. Now, anybody going to Sierra Leone with us? Anybody going to Cameroon with us? Anybody going to Ghana with us? If you plan to, visit our website at africanancestry.com/travel. And we're going to be talking about all things related to African ancestry family reunions. So now we've already been to Sierra Leone a few times. I have been to Sierra Leone. I got my citizenship. Where are my Salone fam at? Put your flags in the chat for Sierra Leone. I'm Temene. And so if you missed any of our info sessions with Diallo Sumbri, who is our director of partnerships, head over to our africanancestry.com travel and you will be able to watch all the info sessions so far. So we've had one for Ghana and we've had one for Sierra Leone. And if you missed it, if you just want to get a refresher and just remember, then go on ahead and go to africanancestry.com/travel and you can watch the show. It's like a little movie theater there with all the things that you may have missed. Now, the other thing is, and we'll get into this a little bit later, we are going to be talking to Yuri about the guide and about the ancestors. So head over to africanancestry.com/ADACI to learn more. So we got Mary here, we got Rick here, we got Stacy here, we got Gail here. Thank you all for coming and thank you for your patience. I know Gina is a little stressed out over in Ghana trying to get plugged in, as am I trying to get plugged in. So what we want to do is just get right to it, I guess. So August is all about the ancestors. And so what I'm going to have to do is put up, it looks like Gina's coming, you all. It looks like Gina is here. Saved by the Bell. Hold on. Let's see. Do I have Gina?
Gina. Hey.
Hey, Gina. I'm going to fall. I'm going to go to the back. Okay. I'm going to fade to black.
Don't go, Wendy. Thank you. No, not you, David. You can go. David just hooked me up. Wendy, you don't go yet because I have to. Where were you? Where did you start?
So we were just about to introduce Yuri and talk about going to the blog to read our blog and to understand more about the ancestors. So I will put that up. We have a brand new blog post up at AfricanAncestry.com/the ancestors. So it's called The Ancestors Are Calling. And when you go there, you get to download a free ancestral guide. Five simple ways to honor your ancestors. So if you go to our website, AfricanAncestry.com/the ancestors, then you can download this guide. It's free. It's a free way. Just subscribe and it's free. So I know y'all like free. I love me some free 99. So you ready, Gina?
I'm ready. Did you already give who won the guide?
Cheryl Wade.
Cheryl Wade in the house. Hey, Cheryl, congratulations. We got Guinea-Bissau in the house. Randy White, aka Katio Bissau, is here. Wendy, look at all these people. Okay, I think I've got my. You told them that I'm in Ghana.
I did. They know all about it, and they've been so cool. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Let's go straight to tonight's guest. Thank you all for your patience. You know, it's always something. And if you've been on any of the calls with us, the Zoom calls for the family reunions, then you know that Diallo's in Ghana and we're always teasing him because of the reception. But someone from IT came and saved the day. He gave me my own router. So we are good to go. Now, I have met a good number of cultural warriors in my personal African ancestry experience. And one of them that I enjoy engaging with more than most is our guest tonight, Eurica Huggins. So family, I want you all to put a candle emoji in the chat to welcome Yuri. She is a co-founder of the African Diaspora Ancestral Commemoration Institute. That's a mouthful. We just call them ADACI. And ADACI is an educational, cultural, and spiritual nonprofit. In DC. Yuri, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Sister Gina. How'd you go to Ghana and didn't invite me?
Girl, I'm in Ghana and I'm freezing. I don't know how I'm freezing. I'm at home, I'm burning up, but for some reason here I'm freezing. I don't know what's going on, Yuri.
There's a lot of AC over there. You know that.
It is cold in here. Anyway, so I'm so glad that you're joining us again because you joined us before and you were the internet gremlins got you last time.
They got you now.
They're trying to get me this time. But here we are. And this is actually the perfect time, as you would say at your events, Yuri, everything happens when it's supposed to. And we are celebrating the ancestors. We do that all the time, but specifically, intentionally, we're celebrating them this month in August. And there's so many things to talk about, but I wanted to start with who you are. So if you could finish this sentence for me, I am.
I am the daughter of Una Eldika Morris and Vernon Huggins, the granddaughter of baby Kojo Morris and the Huggins family, the great-granddaughter of Manny Kojo, born in Trinidad in the West Indies, and have a host of family, friends, and relatives who are very loving, caring, and supportive, carry the traditions of Africa. That's me in my core, but professionally, there's a whole bunch of other stuff.
Well, I like the you at your core. That's very powerful. So many people can't describe their family going back as far as you just did. And so it really is a blessing that you're able to do that. I think, did you go back to a great or just a great?
I think I went back to a great grandfather. I know more on my mother's side than I do on my father's side.
Okay.
So I went back to as far as at least that I know of.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So many people can't do that. So I thank you for introducing yourself that way. Now, you hail from Trinidad. What kind of African influences did you grow up with in Trinidad, Yuri?
I would say that the African influence in Trinidad is really strong. And having my mother, who was born on the island of Tobago, even more stronger because they maintained a lot of the traditions. My grandfather and my great grandfather, after enslavement, they owned a cocoa plantation. And so they grew cocoa. And with that, my grandmother was also responsible for just the business side of it, selling it, going to Trinidad and selling the cocoa from the plantation. And I say this because it goes back to African traditions. You're in Ghana, Ghana with the cocoa industry, Cote d'Ivoire with a very strong cocoa industry. Together, they probably produce the most cocoa in the world that everybody uses to make chocolates, right? These chocolates that we love. So there is that strong tradition. And as you mentioned, you're celebrating the ancestors in August. In Trinidad, the August 1st is Emancipation Day. It's celebrated in Trinidad, in Ghana, in other parts of the Caribbean, but it emanated from Trinidad because of those strong traditions, because of the drum that kind of stayed alive to the extent that when the drum was taken away, the African man's desire to recreate the drum came to the steel pan. So we see those transitions. We see in Trinidad, there's also the African spiritual traditions. Trinidad, Shango is the patron saint of Trinidad. Shango comes from the Yoruba, the deity, the god of lightning and thunder, as some people, as he was put behind the Catholic Saint Michael's. Because when the ancestors, when we were shipped, when kidnapped, trafficked, and shipped, so much of the traditions were taken away. But our ancestors were so smart that they found ways to mask it. So like Cuba, like Brazil, in Trinidad, they masked it. They found a way to continue the tradition of the Orishas. So Trinidad has a very, very strong sense of African traditions coming down from the generations, from enslavement, even to today, and I think even stronger today.
So it's no mistake then that you would be one of the leaders, I would even say internationally, in helping people of the diaspora reconnect to our ancestors. So can you just break it down to us? Let's just go back to square one. How would you define an ancestor?
So an ancestor would be someone who has made the transition from the physical life to the spiritual life, the spirit world. Africans understood that when someone passes away, they're not gone forever, that they just make a transition from one space in the physical to the spiritual. In African traditions, we understand that the ancestors are always with us, that they are there in the spirit world to guide us. They are there to protect us. And so then we're not really disconnected, even though sometimes people feel that they are disconnected. But sometimes the ancestors, whether it's your personal ancestor or even sometimes the community national ancestor, may give you a little hint or a little nudge that they're still there. And sometimes when you look at brothers in the community, right, somebody passes and they'll have a drink, right? They'll have a bottle of alcohol and they'll, throw a little something on the sidewalk. Right. Yeah, but they're actually pouring libations to honor those who may have passed. And so these, the traditions are not gone forever. What the ancestors gave us, it's still in our DNA. It's passed on in our DNA from generation to generation. It's in our memory. And so we may feel we're disconnected, but we're not really disconnected from the ancestors. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's why ADACI is so important, in my opinion, because you just help us to remember what is already there. But Yuri, is it just me, or do you feel like, or do you see this sort of renewed interest or this awakening in learning about and reconnecting with ancestors? Are you noticing?
I think there is definitely, sometimes it comes in waves. There's definitely a wave, a spirit of renewal that is taking place. When we look at what happened in 2019, right? We looked at the observance of the commemoration of the 400 years of ancestors who were kidnapped, trafficked, and shipped to America. And we saw how those different forms took place. We saw Ghana with the president claiming it the year of return, asking us to come back home, come back home and do business, come back home and reconnect with the family. So there is this sense of a renewal of the spirit. There's a sense of people wanting to know more about who we are. I think some of it also was kicked off with the social justice resurgence of the social justice movement, with the killing of George Floyd. We saw that people of African descent all around the world felt that. They knew exactly what happened. They knew, even on the continent of Africa, they were praying for him. They knew that when he called out for his mama, he was calling his ancestor. So there are so many things that we are seeing that are linking us up, that are saying it's time. African people of African descent, wherever you are, it's time to wake up and recognize who you are, what the ancestors gave to us, and what we have.
Well, the upcoming release of the next Black Panther movie has really gotten people excited too. And
Yes.
now they're talking about wearing white to the theaters to honor the ancestors.
As they should.
Yeah. And so where does that come from? Where does the wearing white come from?
So the wearing white is, so white is the absence of color. And what we see is that white also represents the spirit world of the ancestors.
Okay.
And so when we go, let's say, for example, when we go to the water, when we have our annual commemoration together with other members across the US and around the world, the African diaspora world, we all wear white, because that is a way to commemorate. That is a way that we connect with the spirit world of the ancestors. When you go to Ghana and you go to Elmina and Cape Coast Dungeons, you always wear white. Right, so we are reconnecting with the spirit world of the ancestors, and I'm glad that they're doing that. This movie that's coming up, it really shows. It speaks a lot to the fact that the ancestors did not acquiesce during slavery. They revolted. There were revolutions all over the continent, all over the Caribbean. There was some research that shows that there were over 70 revolts in the Caribbean, all of the Caribbean islands, over 21 in Jamaica. And these are not just 2 or 3 people. Some of them were thousands of ancestors who revolted. In Latin America, Zumbi, they ran into the mountains, the Maroons in Jamaica. So I mean, there is that all of these things are not by chance. All of these things are really connected, and the spirit of the ancestors are there, moving us forward, because we have been in trauma for too long. We have forgotten about them for too long. We need to call on them.
And part of that happened, Yuri, because it was taboo. It was forbidden for us to honor the ancestors actively over time, historically. So not only were we disconnected, but then we were told that we couldn't honor our ancestors.
Because, especially during enslavement, we were forced to take on alien customs and traditions. And so we were forced to put aside what we knew that was passed on from generation about the ancestors. And remember also that we are the first people of this earth. All family trees go right back to Africa, to one woman who produced, the multitude of human beings on this planet. So, I mean, when you think about the generation, they are telling us that not to honor, but they're also showing us to honor somebody else's ancestors. right? Dr. Clark always says that, if you're going to honor someone, your God should look like you.
Mm. We don't play here at African Ancestry. We bring you the truth, and we bring you people who know the truth and who aren't afraid to speak the truth and teach us that we have to rewrite our narratives to reflect ourselves. So let's talk a little bit about ADACI. What inspired you all to start ADACI? And what exactly do you do? I mean, it's in the name, but
yeah.
How does it manifest?
Sure. So ADACI was founded in 1993, and it really came about as a result of Babaka Josephine Jai, who was the former curator for the slave house on Goree Island, very well-known individual. He's now an ancestor. He came to visit us in Washington, D.C., and this is how the ancestors, they open doors, they knock on your doors, but you're not hearing them, and they keep knocking on your doors and you're not hearing. You want to go in this direction, but they tell you, no, you got to go in that direction. So the conversation started, and so the question came up about, well, do you all have a day to remember those who were kidnapped, who were taken away? And he said no. And so even before that, there were all these dreams, there were all these things that were happening. So when I asked that question and he said no, and it was like a shock. It was like like, how could you forget? Is it part of that bigger amnesia that we all have, that we forget to remember those who perished? And so as a result of that, we began that conversation about how do we do this? How do we begin to remember them? And so ADACI was founded because we realized that it was significant that we remember those who were taken, because they're our ancestors, but they're also those ancestors on the continent of Africa. Your people were taken as well. How could you forget them? So it started with that. And then, of course, we all went up to visit with Dr. John Henry Clark. Anything of significance in the African world, he's been a part of. So we visited with him. And for those of you who don't know Dr. Clark, you need to really Google and know him. He is considered as the godfather of African history. And so we would sit with Dr. Clark and we would go through what should this look like? When should we have an annual program? When should we relaunch? Who should be the speakers? What are we talking about? And so we began to look at coming up with the objectives. Why should we remember? And so ADACI was founded as a nonprofit education, cultural, and spiritual organization that is dedicated to institutionalizing the remembrance of our African ancestors who perished in the Middle Passage, those who were kidnapped, trafficked, and shipped, who were victimized, terrorized, and traumatized, but who resisted enslavement. And so we do this through a very progressive way, through programs and activities that speaks to the issues that we are dealing with, the remembrance in many different ways. We feature world-renowned scholars, artists, activists, faith-based leaders who help us to not only remember, but deal with the trauma and the healing and restoration. Dr. Kevin Washington is one of our ADACI advisors. I think I saw him plugged in there. He is one of those who, as a former president of the Association of Black Psychologists, they talk about the memory. They talk about the trauma that's passed on in the DNA from generation to generation. So we deal with it in many different ways. And another way that we deal with commemorating the ancestors is through these artistically created sacred spaces, these altars that serve as memorials to the ancestors of the Ma'afa, as well as those who survived.
Now, let's talk about these artistically curated spaces, because if you live in the DC area, you may not know that it's called ADACI. You may not know what ADACI stands for, but if you go to practically any, I'll say, Pan-African event that is memorializing something significant, there's going to be a beautiful, humongous sacred space with an altar in it that is artistically curated by the members of ADACI. And so, Yuri, can you talk to us about why we use altars, and how do you decide what to put on an altar?
Sure. So,
at me. I feel like you're laughing at me. Yuri.
No, because we have created like hundreds of altars and not one is the same. Each single altar we have created for every occasion has been different. But in African tradition, one of the ways that we honor the ancestors is by creating altars. So this is one place that Africans would venerate. They honor the ancestors, and altars are basically like a physical space in your environment. It serves as a focal point to really express your feelings in a sacred space. It really gives meaning to your daily lives. It allows you to connect with the Creator, with the divinity within you, connect with the ancestors, and it serves as a guiding point. It serves as it adds meaning to your life. And as Black people in America, we also know that by going down to the altar. We go down to the altar to express ourselves, right? We sometimes say we get filled with the Spirit, and so it's really the Spirit, the ancestors are moving us, the divinity within us is expressing itself, and so these altars are really a sacred space for us to reconnect with who we truly are. But in ADACI, when we create altars, it depends on what the occasion is for. So sometimes it is an occasion that commemorates female ancestors, and so we create like this one here for the Black family reunion. It was an altar that was created that signified the Black family, the significance of the Black family. So the objects that are put on there symbolizes the Black family. And they're objects that we consistently use on all of our altars, like, for example, the Sankofa bird, which means, as you know, it's a Ghanaian symbol, which means looking back in order to move us forward. We always have a red, black, and green flag on there because that's our liberation flag. We always have a glass of water. We always carry an ankh, which represents everlasting life. And then we have many other symbols. We also look at colors. What is the occasion for? Is it when we did an altar for Black youth, we did a lot of red and black. We had a lot of symbols of warriorhood. We had spears, but we also had symbols that represented the ancestors. This one was for one of the ADACI annual commemoration for the ancestors. And you see the blue representing the ocean.
Because it's a river walk too.
The river walk healing ceremony. Exactly. We went down to the river. The water has always been a special place for us. And so it renews us, it heals us. And it's also said that when the ancestors were taken, some of those deities of the water came with us. So Yemanja, Oshun for the river. So we incorporate some of these symbols, but every single altar that we have created was different. But it honors the ancestors. It allows us to remember them, but it gives the ancestors, especially those who were taken, some beauty. We give them their flowers. They were taken. Some of them jumped overboard. We didn't know who they were. Those nameless, faceless ancestors. We remember them and we restore the dignity of who they are. So that's.
There are a couple of other things that you guys usually have. A candle.
The candles, of course. The lights. A lot of lights on there.
And then photos.
And photos, yes, yeah. And sometimes we have photos if it's a commemoration for all the ancestors, as many as we could. Those, especially those warriors. We have Dr. Welsing, Dr. Clark, Dr. Asa Hillier, those who have passed on. I mean, you name community ancestors. We'll put their photos on there. But sometimes you also, if you create your own altar, some people at home have their a photo of their own ancestor on there. Sometimes people bring a photo of their ancestor and they put it on the altar. We've had people who have come and just meditated in front of the altars as well. So it's a really a sacred space, and it's a memorial, all artistically created. Hundreds of them. Hundreds. And we all have regular jobs, you know. We all work professionally.
I'm here to testify. These I want to say these sisters, but there's some brothers involved too.
Yep.
They don't play. I helped take apart.
That's right.
And that took us like an hour. We were rushing trying to get out of the church where it was set up. But it took an hour to deconstruct the altar. And then we're all like, okay, well, where do we put these? And where do we put these? Which meant you had all of these things in places. Bags and boxes and containers and wrapped up in fabric. And it just was, it was eye-opening, because I see them already. I've never seen you create the altar. I've only ever seen them already created, but to take it down really gave me another level of respect for the work that you do. Another thing that ADACI has done at the times I've been at an event and there's been an altar is during the event, you have the people at the event walk past the altar, walk in front of the altar and take a stone or a cowrie shell. Why do you do that?
So the stones are a symbol of this is an ADACI symbol of our connectedness to the ancestors. So when we create the altars, we want people to come and take something back with them, because as you see, we had to deconstruct the whole altars. It sometimes takes us about 2-3 hours to put up an altar. So we want them to take something back with them so that when they see it, they can remember the ancestors, because our healing begins when we start remembering who we are, when we start remembering those who came before, the sacrifices that they made. And there's also another story. There's a story about an elder in Ghana. And as she was being kidnapped, she grabbed onto a stone so that she can have something to remember as she was being taken. And so we didn't even know that story, but we had already started using the stone as a symbol. And you're in Ghana, there's also the Acebo stone, which is supposedly a very symbolic stone linked to ancient Egypt. So you might want to check that out. So, I mean, there are these different ways. And stones as rocks, they're very hard, right? They started how they were made. So we are very tough, very hard people. I mean, nothing really breaks us. It may throw us down. But as a people, we are just not ever broken like that. So the symbol again is to remember those who were taken. Yeah. Wow. And we do put candles on the altars, of course, because of the light. And
Whew. So I thought we were just going to be talking about altars. You didn't know that altars got this deep, did you? I tell you, it's really, we learn something every week that we have a guest like you, Yuri, on to help us dig deeper into these things. Pouring libations, or pouring some out for the homies that are no longer with us. Who knew? You don't grow up learning that that's libations.
They didn't know that, but that's the memory. It's passed on. The music, the dance, everything that we do in our community, we just don't make those connections because we still have not only the collective amnesia, but we still carry that shame about who we are, because all we see is an image of a slave ship with our ancestors who were stripped down to nothing. But what we don't see are the genius, not just the kings and the queens, but the politicians, the scientists, the astronomers, all of those who came before, who were stripped and taken on those ships. That's what we don't see.
So as we're encouraging people who follow African ancestry to honor the ancestors, we came up with 5 very simple, okay? I'm almost embarrassed to say them to you, Yuri, but 5 very simple ways to honor the ancestors. So one of them, of course, I'm gonna say this one first, is to take an African ancestry test, right? Mm-hmm. What better way to honor the ancestors than to find out where they lived before they were kidnapped, shackled, and stripped? What is that? What you said?
Kidnapped, trafficked, shipped, terrorized, victimized, terrorized.
Yeah. So taking an African ancestry test is one way. Then we have another way, which is, I don't want to say, I don't know what order they are on here on the screen, but create a family tree and then share it with your extended family members, right? So if you start to understand who are the ancestors that you can name, the ancestor that you may have actually physically touched and known, that's a good way to start honoring them. Another way that we've identified is to display their photos. Mm-hmm. And, there are people who are going to say they don't have images or they don't know who any of their ancestors are. And you brought up a very good point that I'm not sure people think about, but there are community ancestors. There are ancestors in our broader family that you can call on, like the Harriet Tubmans, like Axes, like the Dr. Welsings. So it doesn't always have to be just someone who's in your nuclear family. And I was thinking about this when we talked about displaying your ancestors' photos. And this wasn't ancestors, but there's a time, and I don't know if it was like this in Trinidad, where our elders would have notable people's pictures up on the wall. There'd be a picture of Martin Luther King Jr., or there'd be a picture of their Jesus, or and those pictures didn't necessarily come down once the person passed on. So I think we were also doing this. We do this as a habit, again, not knowing why we do
why
it.
we're doing it.
Yeah. So okay, and then I think we have one more. I think that would get us to 5.
Pray,
reflect or meditate for your ancestors. And you talked about that as well. And that is something that often is done at an altar. So many people in the chat said they have ancestral altars at home, altar memorials. Now you prefer that we call them, or you taught us we should be saying altar memorials. Why is that?
No, we didn't, not necessarily. So I think what in ADACI, when we create the altars, we also want people to remember that these are memorials, that because of how we create them, but they are sacred spaces. And so we encourage people to, create your own altar. It could be a simple, doesn't have to be lavish like ADACI, because those, like I said, those are for those ancestors, especially those who perish in the Middle Passage. They did not get, when your mom, anybody close to you passed away, you have a nice ceremony for them. You give, you have their prayers, their flowers. Those who were taken didn't have anything. Nothing was said. Not a prayer was said for them, as except for those on the continent who missed them and know something was wrong. So when we create these altars, we want it to be so lavish. We wish we could have a memorial for each one of them. So it is a combination of us honoring the ancestors in this lavish kind of way with a memorial.
I love it. So, Yuri, when I participated, you invited me to speak or say some words at the most recent commemorative river walk that ADACI held here in DC in June. Was that June?
It's June, June 11th, the second weekend in June.
And as I was sitting there, and I was listening to people talk about ADACI and the history of ADACI, you included. And then when I got up there to speak, I almost couldn't speak because it just hit me all of a sudden, the parallels between what we do at African Ancestry and what ADACI does, and how we are African Ancestry is an extension of what ADACI has done. So I'm excited about what I'm about to say, because you and I, we crossed paths many times. We've crossed paths here in Ghana. We crossed paths everywhere. And shout out to the African Diaspora Development Institute, ADACI, with Ambassador Arikana Chiambaro Kwai. She, Yuri is an active member, and you have a leadership role in ADACI.
I served as the lead for the culture sector, but I have had to step out because of this new job at Howard University, so I'm really busy. But I'm still connected to her. Yeah, definitely.
Congratulations on your new job at Howard University. But anyway, we always talk about how closely related our two organizations are. And so we are now officially partnering with ADACI. So you have published just hot off the presses, the second edition of the ADACI guide, how to commemorate and honor commemorate the African ancestors. I can't see that. That's the title, right?
Yep.
So we have made that available on AfricanAncestry.com. So I want to encourage everybody, if you want to learn more than just 5 simple ways, if you want to go dig deeper into each of those ways, if you want far more than 5 ways to commemorate ancestors and ideas on what kinds of things you can do within your family or within your organization, and I highly recommend that you go over to AfricanAncestry.com right now and purchase this guide. Like I said, I almost felt kind of silly doing 5 simple ways. No. Whet people's appetite so that they start to see, oh, okay, these are the things. But then, we have a very curious, well-read, knowledgeable African ancestry family. And so I knew that they would appreciate having access to this resource guide that ADACI has published.
We are, my dear sister Gina, we are just so happy to partner with you, because you're right. We've been talking about something for so long. And at the commemoration, when I said to you that we are twins, in the sense that, we encourage people to remember those who were taken. But what you do is you take them back home to exactly where they are. And so, I mean, we're like 2 sides of the same coin.
Yes.
And we are extremely proud of the work that you are doing. And we were so honored when you offered for us to just partner on this to remember. So it did choke me up too. So
I know the audience was like, I thought you were going to say something. I was so busy standing up there crying. But look, we were at Union Temple.
I know, right?
Ancestors with ADACI. I don't know how anybody could do that. We had drumming. I mean, there's no way you can do that without feeling it in some kind of way.
Yeah.
So listen, everybody, this African Ancestry is simply reselling the book on behalf of ADACI. So if you go and purchase a copy of the ADACI guide, How to Commemorate Our African Ancestors, then you will be making a contribution to ADACI. We're just the vehicle for you to be able to contribute to ADACI. And are there other ways that people can contribute to ADACI? Volunteering, or you have chapters and others, or there are other or similar organizations in other places? Yeah,
so ADACI has our main office headquarters are in Washington, D.C., but we also have ADACI Senegal, sites in Senegal, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Brazil. But on the website, we also sell like a little ADACI stones to help you remember. Those are special stones. But the guide is like the main thing that we're selling right now. And it really helps because we all have regular jobs. No one, we don't get paid to do it. This is our heart, our purpose, our commitment to our community. So we really appreciate this opportunity for people to just really go ahead and purchase a guide. It's not just giving you it gives you very practical ways. It also speaks to youth in terms of what youth can do to commemorate their ancestors, whether it is, sitting with the elders and doing the family tree, as you mentioned, hosting a Kwanzaa program, whether it is supporting Black-owned businesses by just buying Black 365 and not always asking for a discount. We're always asking for discount.
And you repeat it, and not always asking for a
discount.
discount.
Ask for a discount. Just buy Black, right? And love each other. And for the adults, for ADACI, we say, gather with friends and family, read consciousness-raising books by serious authors like John Henry Clark, Asa Hillier, Jacob Carruthers, Ivan Van Serden.
Yuri, don't.
I can't tell them everything. That's right.
That's right. You guys, the guide is $10.
Get the guide.
It's half of a 20. Please go over to AfricanAncestry.com/ADACI right now and purchase your copy of the guide. Please do that for me. Please do that for ADACI and for the ancestors. And then put a candle in the emoji once you got, or a thumbs up or something once you got your guide. Hey, Yuri, we play Factor Whack every week.
Yep. Okay.
At African Ancestry. So let's get into the Factor Whacks. Wendy's going to put them up, and I'll ask you if you would please read them. Everybody, she's going to read the statement, and we want you to tell us whether it's a fact or if it's whack. Okay.
Okay. Only people in your biological family can be considered an ancestors. Fact or whack?
Hey. All right. I'm expecting everyone to get this one correct. Yes, Wendy, will you please put up the ADACI website? It's ADACI Ancestors.
ADACIancestors.org.
Whack, whack, whack. The whacks have it. What say you, Yuri? Is this fact or whack?
No, not only biological. You can have a community ancestor. Definitely. Yep. That's it.
It's whack. All right. She didn't want to say it. I'm saying it for her. That's wickety, wickety whack. Okay.
Beliefs in tribal ancestors were regarded as superstition by the missionaries and was simply equated as witchcraft.
Now, is that fact or whack? Did missionaries regard our beliefs in our ancestors as superstition? Is it true that they simply equated our beliefs with witchcraft? Yeah, we got a few whacks. They might be holdovers from the other question. Yes. Lots of facts. See, they were listening. They were paying attention, Yuri. I told you, our family, and you're part of the African Ancestry family too, by the way.
That's right. Thank you.
We know what we're talking about over here. That's a fact. All right. Yes, they really did not want us to see. Everybody understands our power, Yuri.
They understand.
We're the ones.
If we tap into that power, I always say the day Black people wake up and realize who we really are, the rest of the world would have to run for cover because they would not be able to handle that power, that divinity that is within us. Woo.
Wow. Ooh, I don't know. Do we have another fact or whack, Wendy? One more.
You have to be in the right place and have the right tools to honor the ancestors correctly.
Ooh. Fact or whack. You have to be in the right place and have the right tools to honor the ancestors correctly. Is that a fact or is that whack? The whacks are rolling in. This is absolutely whack. And you can get the guide, the ADACI guide of how to commemorate our African or your African ancestors. All of the various ways you can just commemorate an ancestor just with your voice, just by calling the name. It's just that simple. So you have all the right tools just within yourself.
They already have been. They just didn't even realize that you were remembering and commemorating them. But they are there. It's in your memory. It's in your DNA. Their blood are in our veins. And so they have not left us. We are the ones who have forgotten.
Well, we are here to remember. Thank you, Yuri, for joining us and helping us to break down how we can and what it means to honor our ancestors. You know this, we're actually going home. And everybody can join us. There are a limited number of spaces available on our upcoming African Ancestry Family Reunion. We're going to Ghana in October. We're going back to Sierra Leone in November. And for all of you Cameroonians, listen, I'm surprised that trip isn't already full, because the Cameroonians have been asking us for years. When are we going to Cameroon? We're going in March, everybody. So head over to africanancestry.com/travel to get more information. And you have to be a family member to travel, but it's easy to become a family member. And one of the things we're doing, Yuri, is we are offering people the opportunity to get revealed on the continent.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
If you purchase your kit and then come with us on one of the trips, we will reveal your results to you in the mother, on the ground. Yeah, that's going to be very powerful. If you guys are watching us on the replay, thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing what we have to offer to the community. Please put a candle emoji in the comments to show Yuri and the ancestors some love. Don't forget, look, it's all things ancestors this month. We got the blog over at africanancestry.com. We have the 5 simple ways, and we have the ADACI guide. Now, we won't be here next week, but we will be back in 2 weeks, because this is also Black Business Month. So on August 17th, I'm going to have 3 colleague Black business owner colleagues with me, and we're going to have a panel discussion about all things related to Black businesses. We're going to have somebody who's been in business for 3 years. We're going to have somebody who's been in business for over 40 years, and then a smattering of us in between. So I encourage you all to set your reminders on Facebook, on YouTube, so that you can join us then. Yuri, again, I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you, Wendy, for holding it down while we had.
Yep. She sure did.
Shout out to Wendy, Terry, our super producer. And I just want to thank you all for being here tonight. Until we meet again, may you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you be whole. Have a very good night.
Thank you, sister.
I wanna know ya, Cameroon, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, gotta let me show ya, Nigeria.